We'll start with a prarthana. There's a usual prarthana I do for language class. Okay.
Okay.
यो ब्रह्माणं विदधाति पूर्वं यो वै वेदांश्च प्रहिणोति तस्मै तमहदेवमात्मबुद्धिप्रकाशं मुमुक्षुर्वै शरणमहं प्रपद्ये वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारंभं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा येनाक्षरसमाम्नायमधिगम्य महेश्वरात् कृत्स्नं व्याकरणं प्रोक्तं तस्मै पाणिनये नमः वाक्यकारं वररुचिं भाष्यकारं पतञ्जलिं पाणिनिं सूत्रकारं च प्रणतोऽस्मि मुनित्रयम्. So first of all, when we enter a language, what is a language? This a language is for communication. So all those things we don't worry right now because we take language as a complete package and let us accept Sanskrit is much more than just for communication. That all the general things which we learn for a language don't apply for Sanskrit. Sanskrit is much more divine. Sanskrit is much more beyond the world and inside the world at the same time. Okay. So now we'll come to the bhasha as a structural something element. So what is the very basic complete element in a language? Okay, a language has many parts. So which part is the complete most part? So that it is a sentence. Okay, a sentence is a complete part, they say. But a sentence may have ambiguous words which have more than one meaning. So in such conditions, we have to say that a context, a sentence in a context. When we know the context, a sentence makes a meaning. Okay. So out of context, we don't understand anything. Okay. So, language has a complete unit as a sentence which has some context whose context is known to us. Okay. This is the first point. Second, that sentence is broken into words. Okay, so it is constituent of words. There are many kinds of words. You may ask me, why is a word not a complete element? Because of the same drawback that a word might mean more than one thing. And if I say Rama, you will say Rama what? I say eating. You say who is eating and what he is eating. So such many things we need to cover if one word is said. But inside a construct, if I say, will you eat food? You say, yes, I'll eat. You said, yes, I will. Even if you don't say I'll eat, it makes a sense inside the context. So that's why the yes also has a meaning in that, but we cannot consider it as a complete element. Okay. So this is very important when it comes to the Vakya concept in Sanskrit. Okay, so I don't know how many Indian languages you know, but because we are born in India and we are aware of many elements which are equal to Sanskrit in our languages. Okay, so that's why we did not explain these things, but when we come to English, we have to explain certain things. That's why I'm saying all these things. Okay. So such words have many divisions. Like word has many forms, like nouns, like parts of speech. What we say, like nouns, verbs, adverbs, adjectives, avyayas, that indeclinables, then conjunctions, interjections, and also many have been made. But in our classes, we are not going to deal with all the things. So this thing will break into only two divisions. All the words will take and will break into two divisions. One is shabdas, like the nominative, the nouns, then verbs. That's all. We are dealing with these for some time. We will think that the whole words are divided into two classes. Okay. So this is the first part. Now we enter the second part. Padam Vividham. The word is of two kinds, Kriya Padani, Nama Padani. And then the second kind of, we talk about the division inside a word, within a word. That was kinds of words, and this is division inside the word. It is two parts again. It is Prakriti plus Pratyaya. Okay. So the left side part is called Prakriti and the right side part is called Pratyaya. Simply. Okay. That is the like very ungrammatical and unphilosophical statement. Something in the left and something in the right. That will help us in the future. Okay. Something we'll add to Prakriti is a Pratyaya and something to which Pratyaya is added is Prakriti. Okay, so this is it. Or we can say Prakriti is the most basic. Again, not Arthapurna. We will not take the meaningful part, but the word further divided, still making some sense. And it is the very basis. At the last, we cannot break it further. If we further break it, it becomes only letters which don't make any sense. They are just sounds and letters, written parts, whatever. Okay, so at such level where it's not letters, it's like combination of letters which makes a sense, some sense, that part is called Prakriti. We can say that. Okay, Prakriti. That is Arthavan Anshaha, which makes some sense. What is Pratyaya? It's a Karyavasha Arthavan Anshaha. When it is add, Pratyaya itself has no sense. But it cannot be even, and one more thing, these two are not to be put in, what do you say, language, like in the speech. Prakriti and Pratyaya are not there in the speech. Okay, they are only in the grammar. They are meta language. Okay, they are meta. We don't use it in the world. They don't exist in the world. For all practical purposes, these are only for studying language and meta language and grammar purposes. We deal with such terms. Okay, so such is Prakriti and this Pratyaya. So this is Pratyaya is a Karyavasha Arthansha. This is what I termed it. It's not there in any grammar. Just to explain my students, I have coined these terms. Okay, so it when it comes to Karya, when it comes to working, then it gets some meaning. So its working position is when it is attached to the Pratyaya. Okay, then it becomes meaningful. Okay, like a Visarga is there. Visarga is no meaning itself. But when we attach it to Rama, for example, then it becomes Ramaha. Right? So it becomes a meaningful word, which can be Prayogarha. Prayogarha is something which can be used, utilized in the world. Okay. So Prakriti and Pratyaya are not utilized in the world as they are, but they help us to form a word. Okay. They both together will help us form a word. So these two are the further divisions within the word. They are not kinds, so they are divisions. So this is the difference. Then there is one concept called Anupurvi, which we should be aware of. We have talked about a word being broken into smaller parts, right? It's not Prakriti Pratyaya, but further division without any meaning. Prakriti Pratyaya at the meaning level again, but this Anupurvi is not at meaning level. It is the very getting to the last unbreakable thing without any meaning. That is Anupurvi. So we are talking about the constituent parts in a word. Okay. So that is like, for example, Bhasha. We want to break it into Anupurvi. Anupurvi is nothing but spelling. Something we call spelling in English. Okay. So what Varnas exactly to call Varna? Varna is the like the bh, k, they are Varnas. But bha, ka along with the swara is called an akshara. Okay, along with like the pronounceable part. The pronounceable part is akshara, and the for undividable and indivisible further, that part with the halanta, that is called varna. So Anupurvi writing is very important. In grammar, you will understand because you are a grammar student. You can understand, nobody else can understand much better how important an Anupurvi is, where the Karya is happening. You have studied Sandhis. So Sandhi does not happen in the whole word. What comes the closest? Those two sounds, those two letters only come into play. All others, rest of this left side parts, right side parts, we are not concerned at all. So this Anupurvi, we have to be careful. We will come to that later. Okay. Then in the word, so when we come to Sanskrit Sanskrit is a language which we learn as a language like any English, German, any language. And also Sanskrit has many meta language elements much defined than other languages. Okay. I didn't study much, but as far as I studied, I understood that Sanskrit is much more complicated, defined and systematic. Okay. So we will also have to learn some meta language elements along with Sanskrit. If somebody says, so before all this, I usually take an oath from my students at the very beginning that you know something about Sanskrit. Sanskrit is not new for you, but still there is something going in the world that Sanskrit is the toughest language. Sanskrit is very tough. We cannot read it. We cannot know her, all that. So it's all bullshit. Okay. Sanskrit is as tough and as easy as any language. And if you ask me, Sanskrit is easier because of our system. Okay. Sanskrit is much easier. Okay, I will just close my eyes and say this. Having studied Sanskrit so many years, I would not have mastered any other language within this span of time if I had spent it on other language. The same time, if I spend on any other language, I would not have mastered because of the systems in Sanskrit. So now we are dealing in the two way. When we learn Sanskrit, what exactly happens is we are learning a language as a language of for speaking, reading, writing, understanding, listening and all. And the second is we are learning about the language, about any language. So such elements we are going to define right now. Okay. So they are Purusha, Vachanam, Linga. Okay. Purusha is what? So now coming back, certain elements of such things are universal. Okay. Some are pertaining to all the languages of the world. Some are applicable to the whole world, universal rules. But some are applicable only to Sanskrit. Okay. So Purusha is a universal concept. Okay. In all the worldly languages, wherever we speak, we are as a part of this world, we have only three persons possible. Okay. One is I, second is you, the third is whom we speak about. I speak to you about something. So I is the first person, you is the second person, and he or she or it is the third person. Who is not here, who is a part of our conversation. For example, I for myself am first person, you for yourself are the first person. I for you am the second person, you for me are the second person. We are speaking about Sanskrit, language, world, learning. This is all third person. Okay, so third person in English and in Sanskrit also, first person and second person does not have any gender, this thing, but the third person has. Okay, when we speak I, a boy can say I, a girl can say I. In the same way, Sanskrit also. When I speak to you in English, you can be girl, you can be boy. I need not say something else if you are a girl and something else if you are a boy. I can say you, that's all. Are you coming? I can ask the same question the same way to a boy also, to you also. So there is no change. Okay, so the first person and second person don't take gender, but the third person takes. Okay, he is coming, she is coming. Okay, so the he, she will, at least we'll use that words in English. If the verb does not change, at least the he, she, we have some defined things. Okay, so that is about Purusha. So the same things in Sanskrit are called as, see, in English, first person is I. But in Sanskrit, Prathama Purusha is he, she, it. That is the only difference where you might get confused. Better I use Anya Purusha. Anya Purusha is a very wonderful term. But what happens is when you open books, in the whole plethora of books, all the libraries, you will find Prathama Purusha only. You don't find Anya Purusha easily. That's why I have to use this term Prathama Purusha. Okay. So Prathama Purusha, he, she, it, or they. Okay. And also they. Madhyama Purusha, you and you all, you many. Okay. There is only one word in English. Uttama Purusha is I and we. Okay. I and we is Uttama Purusha. So this is about Purusha. Next, Vachana. Okay. This is a universal concept. But in all the other languages, there are only two vachanas. We do know about number, but we know about only two numbers, that is singular and plural. One and more than one in all the languages. As many as I know, maybe Arabic they said there is a dvivachana. I don't know it very exactly. I don't know anything about Arabic. So ekavachanam, dvivachanam and bahuvachanam. The only difference in Sanskrit when it comes to Sanskrit is the additional dvivachanam. So there is, like in our language, one singular, more than one plural. But in Sanskrit, one singular, more than one dual, more than two plural. So when it is plural, it is either three or more, but not less than three. So to listen, it seems very simple. But when we apply in the language, this seems to really boggle our mind. Okay, so this Dvivachana is going to take a lot of attention from us, because of which some people thought that Sanskrit should not have Dvivachana at all. Okay, but it is foolishness, and we will lose a lot of beautiful literature because of losing Dvivachana. And really, Dvivachana, I love Dvivachana because how they argue. We have parents in English. Parents can be possible only two people. Okay, but parents is plural in English. Okay, so they come to that basic point. I mean, if you understand what I'm about to say, I did not even say it. Okay, so we have two eyes, we have two ears, we have two hands. Lot of two things in our body are there. We have two lungs, two kidneys, lot of things inside the body and outside the body. We have two. So that is the prominence of Dvivachana. Okay, so we will have Dvivachana. So one, more than one Dvivachana, and more than two, that is Bahuvachana. There is no Trivachana, thank God. Okay, so we should be thankful that thank God we don't have Trivachana also. Okay, so this is about Ekavachana, Dvivachana and Bahuvachana. And we are going to have these for the Shabdas as well as the Kriyas. That we have talked about Kriya Padani, Nama Padani, right? So all these are going to exist in all these. Okay. So this Purusha applies to Kriya Pada. Purusha is a term that applies to Kriya Padas. Vachanam is a term that applies to both. And now we are coming to Linga. So coming back to Linga, this is also universal. All the worldly languages can have three Lingas. Some two, some three, some four also. I'll tell you, in English, we have four genders like masculine, feminine, neuter, and common. One common gender is there. Okay, but it is when you talk about meaningful gender. I mean, when gender comes from meaning, you need many, many genders. But in Sanskrit, what happens is, there's a very grave thing in Sanskrit, which I really don't like, but it is so. We have to accept. Okay, that is the word having the linga and not the meaning. This is a very important factor about linga in Sanskrit. We generally get confused. I am a Telugu speaker. So in our Telugu language, we have Pullinga for all male things and Strilinga for all female things. And for things which are like non-animate, inanimate things, we have like Napunsakalinga. Okay, so it's very defined in our language. We are very happy about it. But when you come to Sanskrit, oh my God, Kalatram is wife, while Kalatram is a neuter gender word. Devata is a god, while Devata is a female. Okay, it's a like feminine word. Okay, and Mitram is a friend, whereas Mitram is a neuter word. So many things are there. I mean, I don't have a collected, like I have to work on this, like many, I can keep a collection of this, but for now, you can take these three words as an example and be aware that linga is not for the meaning, because this is going to make a lot of difference in your usage of the language. When you want to speak a language, when you want to read and understand a language, and when you want to listen, whatever ways you are using a language, this is going to become a very big problem if you are not aware of this limitation. Okay, this is a very big limitation. This is a very big thing that we need to change the way we look at the world. We need to change the way we look at the language. Look at a word, world and language. All this insight, I mean, we have to change that outlook. Okay, because of just this feature. And time to time I will be guiding you how to deal with this. Okay, there are ways how to deal with it. So Purusha is a Kriya related. Vachana is both Kriya and Namapada related. Linga is Namapada related. So we don't have, by luck of God, by the blessings of the Bhasha Bhattarika, we call the Devi, the Saraswati, we have no linga for the Kriya Pada. Okay, we have no linga. There is no gender difference when we say for a boy, for a girl. Like we can say Gachati for a boy also, for a girl also. Like same in English. He goes, she goes. For both we can say goes. So there is no gender difference for Kriya Pada. That's why linga does not apply. What we call Tinganta. I'm not talking about Kridanta. I'm talking about Tinganta because you are aware I'm using these terms. Okay. So Tingantas will have no linga, no relation to linga. They have Purushas and Vachanas. Shabda, Namapadas have nothing to do with Purusha. They're all third persons only. All Namapadas are third persons. Remember, you can underline this with highlight. Okay. All Namapadas are bound to be like Prathama Purusha only, and they have the linga applied to them. Because Prathama Purusha has a linga, he, she, it. Please remember, whenever I say Prathama Purusha, he, she, it. The three things should flash in our mind. Okay. So after this, we have one more concept, Kalaha. So this is again universal. We have only three Kalas possible. Okay. Like I'm not talking about Kala arrangement in Sanskrit. I'm talking about general Kalas. Okay. For Kalas, we have Lakaras. But Lakaras are 10. Okay. But there are more Lakaras, more than one Lakaras representing one Kala. That is the issue. Okay. So there are 3 Kalas and 10 Lakaras. So we'll come to Lakaras later. We are not dealing with them right now. We are aware about Kalas. How many Kalas are possible? In the whole world, only 3 Kalas possible. One is Vartamana, right now present. Bhutakala, which has passed just one moment ago to years and ages ago. Just 1 second back to years and ages is the past tense. Just 1 second ahead to years and ages to come is the Bhavishyat Kala. And this 1 second right now is a Vartamana Kala. Okay, so this is how. I mean, we won't go to philosophical depths because you are a Vedanta student. You know much more than this when I speak about these Kalas and all. I'm aware, but I don't know the knowledge, but I'm aware that these things are there. So this Kala is for grammar purpose, for language purpose. We have 3 Kalas for all practical purposes. Okay. So this Kala again applies to Kriya Padas and not Namapadas. Okay. Kala applies to Kriya Padas. It has nothing to do with Namapadas. Right. Then one wonderful thing which in Sanskrit we can apply with lot of, we can close our eyes and apply, and you will almost 100% you will be correct, is X plus Y formula. I'll tell you what is X and what is Y. X is that a little time before we have studied what is Prakriti and Pratyaya, right? So this X is Prakriti, Y is Pratyaya. So with this you can learn whole Sanskrit. So some parts fall in X, some parts fall in Y. And both combined will make a word. That's all. Be happy. Okay. So this is how it is. Okay, all the words can be like wonderfully cut down into this left side of plus and right side of plus. Okay, so in sandhis, in anywhere you can apply this formula, but we are not talking about sandhis here. We are talking about X as a Prakriti and Y as a Pratyaya. Something to which something is added. Something is there to something is added. So that we will speak in these terms. Sometimes there are 2 elements in X side and 2 elements in Y side also. Okay. So once this Y side element, there are 2, this first part forms into the X side. So such combinations also happen, but you can easily cut down, cut short everything into X plus Y. So we are talking in X plus Y terms, which will make our study very easy. Okay. So instead of saying using Prakriti, Pratyaya, Dhatu, Pratipadika, all these terms, we can just say X plus Y, whatever context we are speaking. Okay. So now, so that X, that Prakriti, One, it is, I'll again come back. Here we have Kriya Padani. If you can see my mouse, Kriya Padani, Nama Padani. Okay, isn't it? So after that we come to Kriya Padasya Moolam. Now we are talking about X. So the X of a Kriya Pada is called Dhatu. Okay, and the X of a that is not written here because I deal with dhatus first. The X of a Namapada is called Pratipadika. Okay, the X of Namapada is Pratipadika. The X of Kriyapada is Dhatu. Okay, so the Prakriti of a Kriyapada is Dhatu. The Prakriti of a Namapada is Pratipadika. Okay, so we'll deal with Dhatus first. Okay, so you'll ask me why Dhatus first? Because Dhatu is special. Dhatu is Brahma. Okay, so that's why Dhatu is special. So no questions about Dhatu. Okay, I'm a great fan of Dhatus. Okay, the concept itself is very attractive and it's so very much near to my heart that even if it were not important, even if it is important, yes, and it is scientific and it is language-wise also important. That's why I take Dhatu. But even if it were not, I would have taken Dhatu only first. Okay, it's like that. Okay. So this one, then, okay. Now we'll come to the next level. Till here, the first level is done. Now we are entering the next level. What does a Kriya Pada tell us? So what is a Kriya Pada? First we'll come to that. Kriya Pada is a verb, an action word in a language that does something. Okay, eating, sleeping, go, come, went, see, hear, touch, that ing, ud, okay, touched, okay, all these are called Kriya Padas. With their pratyas, we can call in English also touch as X and ed as Y, X plus Y, touched. Okay, so all these like Kriya Padas in all their forms, they teach about 4 basic things. Okay, they have 4 basic constituents and 4 basic things they are telling us. One is they have a dhatu, which is a meaningful element. Okay, I mean it without pratyaya has a meaning. Dhatu's beauty, Prakriti's beauty is that even without pratyaya it is having some meaning. Okay, pratyaya gets meaningful, it has some meaning, but it cannot work. Okay, it cannot work, it can work with only pratyaya, Prakriti. So the Prakriti is dhatu. Dhatu has a meaning. Okay, dhatu as a structural element and dhatu having meaning. These are 2 elements. Dhatu as a structural, like as a combination of some varnas, let us say. Okay, gam, pat. Okay, all these are dhatus. Artha, gam means to go, pat means to fall. So such artha element. Then third is purusha. Okay. Oh, I have written 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. Great. That's what I'm saying. There are 5 elements. However, how come there are only 4? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I didn't check this. Okay. So, dhatu, artha, purusha. Purusha is the first person, second person, third person. Okay, that purusha. Then kala. Kala is like Vartamana, Bhuta, Bhavishyat. That is dealt with the Kriya Padas. And finally, Vachana. Vachanam is, in English also there is a change, like I go, you go, but he goes. I walk, you walk, but he walks. So the English verb tends to take a change with the third person singular, just that one. No other declensions are there. But in Sanskrit, there are declensions for everything. Okay, it's a very defined, as I told you, she's a very defined language. And you have a very systematic vyavastha for this. Okay, very systematically, hierarchically arranged and very defining. That's a beautiful part of Sanskrit. You will really enjoy these declensions. Okay, so the Purusha, the Kala and the Vachanam. How it goes is, like, for example, I'm telling you, we'll deal with it later. Like Gachati is there. So we'll take a Gachati or Patati or Khadati, whatever. So we have what all we have in that, let us discuss. Gachati. So gam is the dhatu in that. It changes to gach later. Gam. Artha is to go. Okay. Then purusha. Gachati. The ti part is there. It's the y part. Okay, the pratyaya part, the Y part, it shows Ti is a Prathama Purusha. Okay, Ti is a Prathama Purusha. Kala is like now he is going. Okay, he did not go away. He will not go. He is now going. So it's Vartamana Kala and Vachanam, and one person is going. Gachati means he is going or she is going in Sanskrit. Okay, so it has Gam Dhatu, and to go is its meaning. It is showing third person, it is showing present tense, and it is showing one person is going. So all these are showed by a Kriya Padam in general. Okay, any Kriya Padam. So that I have tried to explain with Patati. Okay, X is equal to Pata, Y is equal to Ti, and Krida also. Same way, in the same way, we can put lot of things at X and lot of things at Y and change. Like in English, English it is difficult to show. In Hindi and Telugu, I can show you variety of examples, but English has less defined verb forms. Verb conjugations are less existent in that. So go, went, gone, then goes, going, having gone, kind of such things we can tell. So in all these things, what is common is to go. Like in dictionary, you won't find went, because what is went, even if you will find it, he will not give meaning. He says go and see. He will write it there. See, go, he'll write. Okay, you won't understand why I came to went and he is coming. He's asking me to go. Huh? So it's a very philosophical question there. What to do? Okay, so we go to go, and then we see. Okay, it is to go. So went is the past tense of go. That's all. Went is not a new word. Okay, so like that, the X now to go, goes, then walks. You keep the S constant. I mean, you keep the right side of the plus constant now. You say walks, laughs, dreams, sleeps, eats, and all. So this X is changing now. Now this X, Y is constant. In the same way, here let us keep Y constant and let us change X. Okay, Pathati, Kridati, Gachati, Hasati, okay, Pashyati, Shrunoti, all these things come in this. Okay, so this Ti, when one person is doing, as I explained, Purusha, Kala, and Vachana, one person is doing and he is doing now, and yeah, he's doing now, and he is doing. He is doing. So this thing keeping constant. What if I want to say two persons? So immediately what changed? Person changed. Number of persons. Number changed. Person did not change. Number changed. So what if I want to say I am going? So here Purusha changed. Okay, Purusha changed. So that Y keeps on changing depending upon these things. When the number changes, when the person changes, when the Kala changes, then the T is changing. Okay, the Y is changing. That's how the grammar works. The words work in this world. Okay, so we'll just revise what we have done. First, we have learned that a complete meaningful element in a language is a sentence in a context. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing we have learned is that sentence is divided into its constituent parts further, which are meaningful but not complete, which do bear a meaning, but they are not complete in sense. So such are called words, pada. But I am using replacing words, but I should not be using. Let me encourage you to use Sanskrit terms by themselves, because when we translate it into, like, verb is different from kriya in many aspects. In Sanskritam grammar, it's very difficult to explain through English. So let us retain the technical words as they are. Paribhashika padani. Okay, so a vakya is divided into padas. A pada is further of two types. One is kriya pada and one is nama pada. That is, nama padas are naming words. Kriya padas are acting words. Okay, though there are many other divisions, we are not going to go there. Types, not divisions, types. So for other types, we are not further defining them right now. And then a word is divided into two parts. further divided into two parts. One is Prakriti, other is Pratyaya. Prakriti still has a meaning. It is not there in the world. It still has a meaning. It cannot be further divided. Okay, that is there. And Pratyaya is something added to the Prakriti. That's all. Pratyaya has no other sense than to be when it's added to the Prakriti, then it gives some meaning. Okay, and in Sanskrit language we have certain concepts which are universally applicable to all other languages, and some are only applicable to Sanskrit. Such concepts we have learned. We have learned about Purushas. There are 3 Purushas in the whole world: first person, second person, third person, same in Sanskrit. Next, Vachanam. Only difference is we have Dvivachanam in Sanskrit. There are 3 Vachanas in Sanskrit, whereas in the whole world there are only 2 Vachanas, all other languages. Then we have studied Linga and how there are 3 Lingas: Pullinga, Strilinga and Napunsakalinga. It is also called Kliba. Please be aware of this term, Kliba. Many people don't know this. They don't teach it. I'm teaching it to you. Okay. Pum, Stri, Napum, they say, or Kli, they write in when you refer to koshas, when you refer to dictionaries, then they will write this one, Kliba. Okay. That. And then this Linga is only applicable to word, and it has nothing to do with the worldly reality. It's the word reality, not the world reality in Sanskrit. Okay. So that is about Linga. Then coming to Kala, Kala is again universally applicable to all. It is Vartamana, Bhuta, Bhavishyat. Okay. And then we have learned about the formula x plus y, where x is Prakriti and y is Pratyaya. Okay. Which makes our study very easy to understand. Okay. And the x of Kriya Pada is a Dhatu, and x of Nama Pada, which I have not written here, is a Pratipadika. Okay. So this Prakriti plus Pratyaya makes a word. A complete word is Prakriti itself is not a word, Pratyaya itself is not a word. Prakriti plus Pratyaya is a word. Okay. Then a Kriya Pada tells us 5 things. 5 parts it makes us aware of. One is the Dhatu. Okay, the root part of a Kriya, Dhatu. Kriya Moolam Dhatu. Then Artha, it has a meaning. Okay, then it shows that the X part shows these 2 things, and Y part shows Purusha, Kala and Vachanam. Okay, so for that we have seen examples, like we have taken one complete word, Patati. One more thing, Prakriti and Pratyaya are not existent in the world, they are only existent in like meta language, in the grammar, for the study purposes, in the books only. So we don't say pat, we don't say to go. He is to go plus ing form. So we don't say like that. The same way, okay. Ing is there, not there in the world. Ing is there only in the grammar, like that. You can understand with that, okay. So pat plus the patati. Then in the same way we can change the x, creed plus the creedati, pat plus the patati. Okay. This much we have done. Right. Let's stop it here. स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्याय्येन मार्गेण महीम् मनीषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः